everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am now starting my week 4. So this is week 4 injection that I will be doing today of my Zepbound. I am still on the 2.5 milligrams. I'm going to go over some of the dosing information, as we're going along today, or what they call titrations, which is the strengths that you're getting in each one of these titrations, and when you're expected to kind of move forward or stay where you are. I'm also going to go over some things because I was in a Weight Watchers Clinic Zoom meeting with their fitness and nutrition this week, and some of the questions and comments I was seeing blew my mind. And I quickly realized that not everyone who's doing this probably has the same level and knowledge of eating and fitness and nutrition and why it's important and what you need to do and how it works in the body as I do. Now, I am going to go ahead and say I am not a medical professional. I'm not claiming to be a medical professional. I was pre-med in undergrad and I have a master's degree in health as well. However, I am not a medical doctor, but because I have that background and I've also worked in pharmaceutical manufacturing before, which is like Eli Lilly. I did not work for Eli Lilly, but I worked for a lot of companies that are similar. I am a little more knowledgeable on how these things affect the body, what it is you need to do, how to make it work, what to do when it's not working. And so that is what we are going to go over today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to go over for everybody is I am talking about things that is available to everyone right now. This is not a secret. This is from the New England Journal of Medicine, and you can look it up as well yourself. So they did do a study on tirzepatide, and I will put up some images over here as well for you all as well. There's a lot of different things within this study that I really paid attention to when I was choosing Zepbound as my weight loss drug, like my avenue, which I was going to move forward with. I looked at Ozempic, also Wegovy, which Wegovy is their weight loss form of Ozempic. I looked at Saxenda, that was a big no. I looked at Tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, and in the form that is branded from Eli Lilly for weight loss is Zepbound. So Zepbound and Mounjaro, you're going to hear a lot of people using them interchangeably. It is simply because there's a different FDA branding for the weight loss drugs as opposed to the drugs that are for people who are diabetic. So a couple of things that I wanted to go over with everybody that I found that were questions on this Weight Watchers clinic because people weren't really understanding a lot of it. There was a very large population of people, like well over 2,000 people that were in the clinical trials for Eli Lilly, also in the research summary in the New England Journal of Medicine. There was about 8% of that total that for some reason, shape or form, they just could not take this drug. Now, that's why I want to remind everybody that everyone's body is different. Everyone has different genetics, different biologics. These are biologic medicines, and they're going to act differently in every single body. Everyone. Now, that being said, I am going to put a link down below if you guys want to go and review this for yourself, because they do have a lot of demographic charts of what was the demographic of the people that they were testing, what level were they on? Were they on the 5, the 10, the 15th? Were they on a placebo? Their total, it has right here, I told you it was over 2,000. It says 2539 that's on here. It breaks down, their ethnicity, their background, what their obesity levels were, what their waist circumferences were, what their blood pressure was, what their lipid panels were looking like. Did they have diabetes? Were they pre-diabetic? What was their glucose looking like? And overall, no matter which category these patients were in, whether they were taking 5, 10, or 15, they all had a percentage of weight loss, all of them, the placebo, not so much, but all of them had a percentage of weight loss. Also had better metrics when it comes to their blood pressure, their cholesterol, their total lipid panels, their glucose levels, basically an effect on the entire body as a whole. So that is part of the reason why I specifically moved into let's go with Tirzepatide. For some reason, I really like Eli Lilly as a company. Like I said, I have never worked for them before. I did work for a few of their competitors, but I have always really liked Eli Lilly as a company. There's also some different things in here about the adverse events. Now, yes, there are some that are very small percentages of people who did have major adverse events, and you can look and see what those were, but they do also go through what the major adverse events were for this, and it was on this very first one, and it's basically just saying with the 5, 10, or 15 in placebo, who had nausea, who had diarrhea, and who had constipation. And what was interesting to me is that even the people who were on the placebo also had the same levels of those 3 things happening to their body, even though they weren't taking anything, as the patients who were taking this drug. Now, obviously, it does show on here, which I also thought was interesting, that at the 10 milligram mark, which you'll see right here, and I will also put it up over here larger so that you all can see it, but at the 10 milligram mark is where people were having what I would call the most adverse reaction effects. And then it went down once they got to the to the 15, and I believe now they also have a 12.5. And it was, of course, the lowest at the 5 milligrams. Now that brings me to a question that a lot of people had during the Weight Watchers meeting that I felt like, okay, maybe this wasn't explained well enough in their meeting with their doctor for whatever reason. Whereas I asked this of my doctor specifically, I said, in the clinical trial, there is a graph that shows how long you should stay on each one of the doses, the titrations. Whether you should stay, for 4 weeks, as long as possible, is it 4+ weeks? And so I kind of asked her, my physician now with Weight Watchers, I said, is the goal to increase my dosage every 4 weeks, regardless of if I'm losing weight or not, and regardless of if it's canceling out the food noise that's happening? Because at 2.5 milligrams where I've started, I'm not really thinking about food. I am losing weight, and we will get to those weight loss metrics. And don't forget that there are chapters down below. If that's all you care about here today, go down to the chapters and forward through to that. But I just kind of asked, what is the goal? Like, am I supposed to stay on 2.5 as long as I'm physically losing weight and as long as I'm not thinking about food? Or is the goal to be on that for 4 weeks and then quickly move forward to the 5? Is the ultimate goal to get to the 15 milligrams? Because in a way that I understand that can kind of scare people, because you're kind of going from like here to there and you feel like it's very quickly. And I also asked, if I only had maybe 40 pounds to lose or 50 pounds to lose, would that be different than if I have 100 pounds to lose? And so I did look more in depth into this New England Journal of Medicine study, as well as the clinical trial studies that I did find. And I will put up a chart up here that shows you about how long you're supposed to stay on each one of these. And my Weight Watchers doctor did also state that as long as you are not losing, or you are losing equal to 6% or more than 6% of your body weight per month, then they will leave you on your current dosage. So next month, I'm going to be going up to the 5 milligrams. It's already been ordered. I know that there's this huge thing about the shortage right now, and saving cards aren't working because the system was hacked. And you should have received, if you have registered for the savings card that I do link down below, you should have received some kind of text message or communication with a new and updated savings card from Eli Lilly. If you did not, then you might want to reach out to them. But yes, there is in fact a back order of Zepbound right now. My pharmacy here in Kentucky said that they will probably not be able to get any until towards the end of March, and for me to get my order in for whatever I will be taking in the next month in April as soon as possible. So I did also communicate that to the Weight Watchers care team so that they are aware that that is the situation as well. One of the great things about the Weight Watchers care team, though, is that they are constantly checking in whenever I send them anything. They're constantly aware of what's going on. They're constantly looking to see which pharmacies might have it, that maybe I could go fill it there instead, which is amazing because then I don't have to do that. And I like that I can ask the doctor things whenever I want to, as much as I want to, and she answers within 24 hours. So I am going to go over my results now of what I did during week 3. This is my week 4 injection. And so I was a little disappointed because I only lost 0.4 pounds during this week. And that's where I'm going to start this topic of why you might not be losing weight doing this on the level that you're on. And my reason, I took my Cosentyx injection on Sunday. So I know for a fact, for my body taking Cosentyx, that it makes me gain weight. I've gained over 40 pounds on Cosentyx. I gained weight on Humira, I gained weight on Enbrel, and I gained a whole lot of weight on Cosentyx. So I was kind of expecting this, that when it's, you know, the one time a month that I'm taking Cosentyx, that week of the month might not be so great for me on the Tirzepatide. I need to talk to my rheumatologist to find out if there's anything that could be kind of blocking one or the other by taking them coincidingly. But so far, of course, there are no studies on that. There's only about 72 weeks ish of Tirzepatide studies, and there's not a whole lot of the effects that it may have on different drugs or biologics that you might be taking as well. So I was not, you know, shocked by only losing 0.4 pounds. 0.4 pounds in a week, fine. What was interesting is that my muscle did go up again, and my water is still up too. So for me, as I'm not losing muscle and I'm drinking enough water, so for me, it kind of boils down to, okay, I took my Cosentyx this week. I just need to expect that moving forward. Some other reasons that you may not be losing weight on the Tirzepatide, you might not be on the correct dose. And so with this type of drug, it can take a while for your body to kind of get used to it, know what to do with it, build up kind of, okay, here's what this is wanting us to do. And if you are with a doctor that has had you on 2.5 or 5 or even 7.5 and they've just kind of left you there and they've not continued on and you're still not losing weight, then that's something that you need to discuss with your physician, because your physician should be reviewing your data and moving you along if you are kind of plateauing or you are stuck until you have lost the weight that you're wanting to lose. Once you've lost the weight that you're wanting to lose, yes, you are supposed to taper back down. Another reason that you might not be losing weight is you're not eating enough. That was something else that I kind of noted this past week. I really was not eating enough. I ate a ton the 2 weeks before that. And then this week, I just was not hungry. I didn't want anything. I didn't want to force myself to eat either. 3, I had a really hard time basically trying to force myself to eat. I was still eating a lot of fish. I've really been into shrimp lately. Shrimp, mussels, fish. Every time I'm, you know, chicken, every time I'm trying to eat anything, I always make sure that I have a protein with it. And this 3rd week, I was just kind of here, there, and everywhere. I was thirsty beyond belief because I have increased my workouts, which with Weight Watchers, you pick, if you guys remember from last week, you pick which calendar you want to do with the fitness. And so I've kind of progressed on those calendars more into the push, where I'm working out a lot more. I'm trying to do a lot more because I really want to just kind of get into it and make it a habit. So you might not be eating enough. You might be overdoing it with your workouts, which I think I kind of did this week. I had to take a break kind of midway through the week. So I'm like, okay, I overdid it. I'm going to hurt tomorrow. I'm probably not going to be able to move. Along with all of that, you could have other medical issues like I do. So I mentioned that I took my Cosentyx this week. And so I was curious to see how my weight was going to change doing that, knowing that I've just gained uncontrollably on Cosentyx. You could have other underlying medical issues as well that is kind of causing a lot of this to just not come off for you. Another thing that you can have is your timing of this medicine as to why you're not losing weight. If you're not taking your medicine on the same day at the same time, then basically what's happening is your body has a time span where it's not there. So the drug is being worn out, and then there's nothing there to replenish it to kind of build up in your body. So you want to make sure that you are taking it on the same day at the same time as much as possible. And you also want to make sure that you are noting your results at the different injection spots. So the first week that I did this with you all, I did my left leg. The next week I did my left arm. Then last week on week 3 injection, I did my right leg. And so My right leg didn't perform so well. My left leg performed pretty well. My arm burned a little when it was going in, but I chalked that up to that it was still not at room temperature when I put it in. But I did okay on week 2. And so far, my left leg has been my body's favorite injection spot. Now, I'm not saying to go and inject in your left leg every single time. You do want to still rotate these type of injections in the backs of your arms, outside of 2 inches around your belly button, in your stomach, and then your thighs on both legs. Now, I took my Cosentyx injection in my stomach this time because I had not done my Cosentyx in my stomach before, and I wanted to kind of change up where all my injection sites were. So this time I'm going to go back to my left leg just because I really did not like it in my arm. I had a bruise after I did it. It kind of burned a little bit when it went in, and I just did not like that. So I'm going to go back to my left leg today. And it's weird that your injection sites can matter, but in fact, they really do. So pay attention to that and notate where you're injecting each time, and then what kind of weight you've lost or what kind of side effects you have going on as well, because all of that can affect you and your body. And again, everyone's body is going to be completely different. So I wanted to address that as far as a lot of people on the Weight Watchers Zoom meeting were saying like, hey, I've been on the 5 milligrams for 3 months. I'm not losing any weight, and they were coming from another doctor's office. And so here's my spiel on all of that aspect. Because if you're coming from an outside office, so for instance, if I would have done these injections with my local endocrinologist, she scheduled and submitted for me to get the 2.5 milligram dosage, and then she was not going to follow up with me for 4 months. So that means I would have been on 2.5 milligrams for 4 months, regardless of if I'm not losing weight, regardless of what Eli Lilly's dosing suggestions and instructions and guidelines are, regardless of what the clinical trial data was saying, because she's just overbooked and she's full. She really doesn't have time to talk to me every 3 weeks or every month or every 2 months. So I was going to have to just stay on this, whether it was working or not, for 4 months. And to me, I wanted to work with someone who is constantly looking at what I'm logging. They're looking if I'm logging my food. They're looking at what kind of fitness I'm working in, what kind of activity I'm getting. They're looking at my questions that I'm submitting. And then they're making an educated decision on the doctor's side along with my patient feedback. And see, with the Weight Watchers app, when you get approved to work with them and they say, okay, we're going to prescribe you something, you also get a choice. You as the patient get a choice as to which one of the drugs you want the doctor to submit for. So I could have submitted for there was like 5 or 6 different ones that I could have submitted for, and I chose Zepbound. That's the one that I as the patient chose. My doctors, my local doctors, and every doctor I've ever been to in multiple different states, they don't ever ask me which drug I want to go on. That's not a thing. They don't say, hey, which one of these would you like to go on? They don't care. That most of the time they're getting kickbacks anyway to put you on whatever they're putting you on. So that's what you get. So I think that that's a great aspect, and another perk of Weight Watchers Clinic is that you get a choice as the patient as to which drug you want your care team to submit for. And you can do a backup too, so I basically put, I want Tirzepatide. If I can't get Tirzepatide, I might consider Wegovy, but I really want the Tirzepatide. So you can do the backup choice just in case your insurance isn't going to cover the one that you choose. The other thing that's really great about the Weight Watchers Clinic is that each 3rd week, as I'm going into my 4th week, I submit for my next month of dosage. And I also get a choice then. I get a choice that says, do you want to stay on the 2.5? Have you lost equal to or more than 6% of your body weight? Is your food noise canceled out? Like, do you feel like you're good at this level? Or do you think you need to progress? And for me, I knew, like, okay, my Cosentyx is kind of halting this up for me here. I did not lose equal to 6% or more of my body weight. I've lost 9 pounds in 3 weeks. That's not 6% of my total body weight. So yeah, I'm going to follow the clinical trial and Eli Lilly dosing suggestions, and I'm going to move forward after 4 weeks on 2.5 into the 5 milligrams. So again, I will have the link down below if you guys want to go and look at all of that data, and I am going to obviously put up some images for you all to see from that as well. Now I'm going to cover another thing that was from the Weight Watchers Clinic that just also completely blew my mind. And I realized after my last video that I did, I had someone make the same kind of comment about how much muscle weighs versus fat. So obviously everyone has seen this image before where you see 5 pounds of fat versus 5 pounds of muscle. They also have ones that are like 1 pound and 1 pound. So everyone has seen that before, and everyone gets the reference that muscle weighs more than fat. So everyone on the Weight Watchers like Zoom and even in my comment section was blown up like a pound is a pound. It doesn't matter what the pound is of. It could be of rocks, it could be of fat, it could be of muscle. A pound is a pound. And that is the absolute wrong way to look at this, because I personally would rather have 5 pounds of muscle on my body as opposed to 5 pounds of fat on my body. And that's hands down. It takes up less space. It's better for your body overall. All of your different, your cardiac system, your skeletal system, like it's just so much better to have muscle than it is to have fat. And I'm hoping that everyone that watches this agrees, because a lot of people on the Weight Watchers comment section were basically saying like, no, we just want to lose weight. We don't care where it comes from. We just want to get the weight off. No, just no. That is definitely not the right answer. I mean, if you guys don't remember this from like high school health class, you know, your muscles are more than just like, you know, hey, I got this really nice big bicep. Like your heart is a muscle. So I know that you guys don't really want to have like cardiovascular issues. You don't want to have a heart attack because your heart doesn't have what it needs to be able to function. Not only do your muscles physically move your body, like your mobility, you're able to move because of muscles. If you don't have muscles, you would just be like a bone and fat blob on the floor. You have to have muscles to be able to function. And muscle loss impacts your overall health. And so that's why I keep saying you don't want to lose muscle during this, or you want to lose the least amount of muscle as possible. And in that Weight Watchers call, Justin, who's over their fitness, he did a little quiz and he put up on the screen of the people who were not working out and had a regular fitness routine, what percentage of muscle were those people losing? And I believe it was 30%. 30% of their muscle is what they were losing, whereas the people who did have a normal fitness routine and they were active and they were moving and they were cognizant of trying to build muscle and stay active, they only lost 10% or less of their muscle. So that is what Weight Watchers is like aiming towards. They have dietitians, nutritionists, they have a fitness program, they have the doctors and the care team. They're looking at this in a whole circular sphere of how everything needs to come together for this. You need to be staying active. You need to start making it a habit. If you are not doing Weight Watchers Clinic and you are going and getting like the compounded drug or going to a different weight clinic somewhere else and getting Zepbound or anything like that, you need to know that you need to make yourself a calendar. You need to stick to it. You need to get out. You need to walk. You need to bike. You need to try to jog if you want to. You need to be lifting some type of weight, doing some type of yoga with your own body weight, perhaps, just to help your overall mobility, your stretching, your meditating, whatever it is you're doing. A lot of people don't know that fat leaves the body when you are exhaling as well. A lot of people think fat leaves the body in other ways, which it does in some, but for the most part, when you are exhaling out CO2, that is part of your body utilizing fat and then getting rid of the waste, just so that you guys know that. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about as far as muscle and how it's going to impact your health. You know, I already said that you can impact your mobility overall. You want to stay mobile as long as possible, and the older you get, the more muscle, attribution you're going to want to have, because you're going to lose muscle as you age. That just happens naturally. You don't want to fall and not have muscles and even a little bit of subcutaneous fat to try to cushion that fall. And a lot of people in the Weight Watchers meeting were saying like, no, I want to have a fat-free body. So next week, I'm going to cover the different types of fat and why some types of fat are good for you, whereas other fat is not. I'll cover that next week. But as far as the muscles go, it also affects insulin resistance, which can affect your overall weight and your whole metabolism, because your muscles in your body use the blood glucose, so like the sugar in your blood. And if you don't have muscles that's using that, then that blood sugar just stays in your bloodstream and it can cause insulin resistance. When you have insulin resistance, a lot of people walk around not even knowing that they're insulin resistant, and it can make your weight shoot up drastically. You can also have issues with breathing. So your lungs have to have muscles helping them contract so that you can breathe. So you don't want to have breathing issues. You need this muscle. I already mentioned that your heart is a muscle. You want your heart to pump blood through your whole body, right? You don't want to have like a heart attack. You don't want your heart to just kind of stop pumping. So you need to be eating things that feed your muscles, and you need to also be protecting your muscles, because overall your muscles is what increases your overall life expectancy. Bet you didn't know that. But yes, the ratio of muscle to fat in a person's body is directly related to their overall life expectancy overall. So the more that you can try to build muscle, work your muscles, the better. The other thing that comes along with this is that I used to be in clinical as well, I worked in hospitals. If you are not active and you're not working on your muscles, then you can also have a lot of adverse reactions to like a hospital stay or going through something like chemotherapy. So you want to make sure that you are protecting your muscles, you're keeping your muscles, and you're trying to build those muscles. And when I say that, I don't mean just go like lift weights all the time and you gotta do this. I'm just gonna have to stay in the gym 24/7. That is not at all what I mean. I mean, go for a walk. Yes, you can lift some muscles, use your own body weight, do some yoga, do some Pilates. A lot of times the lower impact type cardio is more effective for your overall health anyway. Okay, so now that we have gone over all of that, and hopefully everyone understands that muscles are good, you don't want to get rid of them, that no, a pound is not just a pound, no matter where it comes from, because you don't want to get rid of a pound of muscle and keep the pound of fat. You want to get rid of the fat and keep the muscle. And one of the easiest ways to kind of ensure that you're doing this is by following the high protein diet. And that is part of the nutrition piece in the Weight Watchers Clinic, where they are really trying to work with you on not just staying high protein. You know, it's not carnivore, it's not keto. It is a well-balanced, all around the board diet. Personally, I have found just in the 3 weeks that I've been doing this that any type of packaged food just tastes off to me and I don't like it. I've really only liked fresh, whole foods. And so that's what I'm sticking with. I'm just kind of telling everybody, like when they say, hey, what are you doing? I say, I'm just eating whole foods. And a lot of times that's just easier to say to people. It's just like, hey, no, I'm eating whole foods right now. I'm trying to stay healthy. You don't want to say like I'm on a diet, just say I'm trying to eat whole foods right now. And then that's going to help you no matter where you are anyway. Now, a general rule of thumb there, of course, is a calculation. If you are not on the Weight Watchers program, which, as you guys know, I love the Weight Watchers Clinic program just because it's so well-rounded, but they update the chart for you as to how much protein you should be having as your weight changes, so I don't have to even think about it, which is great. But of course, there is a calculation. I mean, a lot of different nutritionists will tell you differently. The general kind of rule of thumb that I have seen and heard is between 0.8 grams and 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram that you weigh, not pounds, kilogram. Another way that I heard it back when I was doing carnivore and keto was like, hey, eat half your body weight in protein, but don't go over that. And so for me, that's always been very, very hard to try and eat half of my body weight. I would say the general rule of thumb of that is you should not have less than a third of your body weight in pounds in grams. So, you know, if you're a 200-pound person, you know, you want to have more than like 72-ish grams, but then you don't want to go over 150 grams, right? You don't want to go past the 3/4 mark. You really want to stay kind of closer to like that 70-ish, 72 as your low, and then like 100 as your high for a 200-pound person, for instance. So I would say right around that halfway mark for 200 would probably work. Even though some fitness experts will tell you go higher, some will tell you like, no, you need to stay lower. Personally, I just do whatever the Weight Watchers app says for me to do. It changes each time. I have not hit my protein goal yet to date, even though every time I'm sitting down to eat, I am grabbing some type of protein to eat with whatever else I'm eating. So if I'm having pineapple, I'm also eating protein. And a lot of people will also say like, oh, whoa, Ketosis Mom, you're eating pineapple, that's full of sugar. And I am not really following a keto diet when it comes to this program. I have not looked at or counted carbs in the past 3 weeks whatsoever. My main goal every time I eat is how much protein am I getting this meal? I need the protein, give me the protein. Personally, I also have read a lot of studies and throughout history, basically, pineapple helps to break down protein for positive use within the body just because of how acidic it is. And so I have been eating a lot of pineapple just because I've been eating so much protein. And for some reason, even though I'm not really craving food or craving anything in particular, pineapple does still taste really good to me. And it is some sweetness, and I'm not having a lot of pineapple. It's probably maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup of pineapple at any one time. And then I will have berries, so strawberries, blueberries, because if you all remember, I also have SIBO, and so I do have to follow the FODMAP diet. And so I'm trying to stay on mostly whole foods that are on that FODMAP diet so that I do not have any type of gastrointestinal upset or the small bacterial overgrowth during this process, because I feel like that would be a very large hindrance. And so when I was talking earlier about like why you might not be losing weight on tirzepatide, you know, SIBO can very, very much be an outside like medical condition that is affecting this as well. So make sure that you're kind of giving yourself some leniency here, especially if you do have other underlying conditions, especially that if your weight is kind of affecting those. A lot of times these things will go hand in hand with one another, and you do have to just kind of give it time. So I'm going to go ahead and do my week 4 injection of the 2.4. This will be my last injection of the 2.5 milligrams for week 4. Moving into the next, I will be taking the 5 milligrams. So stay tuned for that. I will go over, of course, if I had any kind of new side effects or the same side effects return or anything like that. As far as like, you know, I had a stiff neck when I first started this, when I move up to the 5. So let's go ahead and get this one done. All right, so I've got my ice pack on here. I'm going to remove that. It's nice and cold right here. I'm going to make sure that it's nice and clean. And I am going back into my left leg again. And I have still been using the fascia blasters a lot after doing all of these different kinds of injections. You are going to want to make sure that you unlock this. Let's go ahead and unlock it. Take the lid off. Boop. And I do have my daughter here watching me do this because she's very curious. So here is my section right here that was clean, and it's also kind of red. I'm going to kind of squeeze that up if I can, like this. And then I'm going to put this down in here and hit the button. 1, 2 clicks. I usually wait a few seconds more, release, and then release. So that one, I do have a little bit of blood here. So this one, I do have a little bit of blood here with that one, and so you want to make sure that you have something to also wipe that away. Typically, I have had a little bit of blood still coming out, so I just go grab a quick Band-Aid and put over it until later tonight, and then it should be just fine. That's going to be it for today. Make sure that you are subscribing to my channel on YouTube. You can also hit the bell to get alerts every time I have new videos like this if you're following along. I would love to hear down below in the comments if you are currently on any of the weight loss medications and some of your experiences as well. Please reach out to me on any of the social medias. I am on Instagram and also Amazon at KetosisMom. And then I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and Like to Know It at Living Large and Lily. You can follow me on either of those as well. And I will see you guys next time to give you guys updates on how week 4 went as far as if I lost any weight during week 4 after my Cosentyx injection. And then I will also be doing my injection for the new injection for the new month with the 5 milligrams. See you guys next time.
Thanks for watching my mom video.